Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Drew Jimbo Neutron podcast. I'm your host, Drew Jimbo Neutron. Today, I have a very special guest, WWE superstar wrestler Jaxson Ryker. Very grateful for you taking the time to come out and do this. I hope all is well with you and your loved one.
Oh, yeah, man. Absolutely. I appreciate your time as well. And just sitting here in Tampa seems to be the new home base for WWE. So just waiting on Raw tomorrow night, man.
That sounds great. You just got done not too long ago with a pretty busy weekend, pretty busy time for, it seems, the whole wrestling industry. So how was dealing with WrestleMania week and everything, especially being in Tampa in the Florida area?
It was a little more laid back this year. So 2 years ago, we did Mania in New York. And for me with NXT at the time, it was real busy. I mean, we were there from Monday till, I guess, Tuesday, so a whole week doing fan access, doing signings, doing more media, visiting children's hospitals and stuff like that. So obviously with the COVID stuff going on right now this year, luckily we had, we had an audience, roughly 27,000, I think, per night. But it was a little more relaxed. We didn't have the big fan access, which, for a lot of us, it's kind of sad. But I mean, we know probably next year, hopefully, because it's always cool to meet the fans, man. But it was amazing for me because it was my first WrestleMania to be a part of. Didn't have a match, but I was a part of, a really good storyline going on with Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon, Elias, and I was just getting a chance to, look out that curtain and go, hey, man, 5 years old. So what I wanted to do. And here I am, WrestleMania 37, fulfilling a dream. So it was awesome, dude. It was awesome. The crowd was electric. The weather was nuts. They said it was the first WrestleMania where it just downpoured on us. But man, the crowd, the WWE universe is kind of what drives us. So we were really thankful to have that back in front of us.
Yeah, it was. I saw a lot of people saying that it's almost as though 2020 wasn't over because it was pouring so hard. And I know there were a couple of unfortunate people slipping on the entranceways and stuff because, I mean, it's steel and it's slippery. I was really surprised that more people weren't because it's just such like a slip and slide pretty much. But
oh yeah, real quick story. Elias and I is coming through the crowd, and they got these plastic, I guess, guards put down over the grass or whatnot. And he rounds the corner and he thanked me when we got to the back because he just like one foot just goes out from, underneath him. And I grab him by his side and keep him from crashing. And he got to the back. He was like, you saved me. I know I did. So, I mean, it was water everywhere, man. But but it made for a very adventurous night. I felt like the fans got their money's worth and they stuck it out, man. They got rained on a lot.
Yeah, I had a couple of friends who were there because I live in Plant City, so I'm not too far from it. So I had a few friends that were going, and they were just talking. They said it was pouring, but I mean, no one was complaining. It was just everyone was just seemed to be really happy to just have it back and even have the opportunity to see all the WrestleMania and all the guys back and girls back in action. So
oh yeah, man,
it's pretty
awesome
much
stuff.
Yeah. You mentioned 5 years old when you're looking out the curtain and stuff. So I know that I've done some research and I know that you've wanted to be a wrestler rather since you were around 5 or 4. So how does it feel really, a long build up and of course you joined the Marine Corps. So that kind of diverges the path a little bit, but what's it like, full circle, finally being able to stand at WrestleMania?
Yeah, dude, it's cool, man. Like, I mentioned 5 years old, growing up watching Hogan and Warrior and Macho and the guys, and the list goes on. But just my mom, I was the kid that I was stubborn and hard-headed. I didn't want to do anything else. Obviously I went in the Marine Corps. That's something that was very prestigious for me, part of kind of family history. But even in the Marine Corps, I just continued to travel to wrestle. So for me, I guess I've been doing it almost a little over 20 years to finally come to this point to where I'm at a WrestleMania. I'm a part of a WrestleMania. It's one of those dreams come true. And growing up watching those, having so many fond memories of, just seeing all these great matches on WrestleMania, never going to one live as a kid. But, just being a part of one now as a WWE superstar and getting a chance, like you said, to fulfill that dream, dude. And just, I'm from a small town, Hickory, North Carolina, that there's no reason I should be at WrestleMania, but I'm blessed to do what I get to do. And it was so cool to have the crowd, and just so cool to be out there and just part of this the Super Bowl for WWE. It literally it's become at WrestleMania 1 and 2 and so on. Those they were, some of them were smaller. You had WrestleMania 3 that was obviously insane, but WrestleMania is like it is the Super Bowl for WWE. I mean, it's insane now. So everybody, they come from all over the world. So to be a part of it was, tremendous.
It's funny, people that I talk to, a lot of them keep emphasizing, say it's like the Super Bowl of WWE, and we actually had the Super Bowl in Tampa, and like the same, correlates it, and it seemed to be like WrestleMania was much more of a big spectacle, and seemed to somehow get more coverage even like in the area. And it's just really testament, I guess, just how gigantic it is. And like, we call it the Super Bowl, but it's like so much bigger. Like everybody flies in internationally and stuff. It's really crazy. But
no, you're good. Go ahead.
You mentioned that you were from a small town, was it Hickory, North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
You said, it's crazy you even got to the opportunity, you got the chance to do it. So how kind of did you get started on the path, and how did you start to become a wrestler from such a small town?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things where my dad always instilled in me, mom and dad always instilled in me, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. We believe in you, but just, you got to finish school, So obviously high school was the thing. They never said you had to go to college, which was something I never cared to do anyway. I wanted to join the military, especially after 9/11. It was one of those things that was just kind of, all right, let's, go serve my country. But I started right out of high school. I graduated, I guess, year 2000. Started training with a local guy, Tommy Birch. He used to wrestle as Abel Adams in, the Carolina area and Georgia and all these other places. And he just kind of took me under his wing, man. I met his wife. Her and I used to work together when I was like 18 or 19. And she knew I was into wrestling and introduced me to her husband. And he just kind of took me under his wing. He took me on the road with him and did some independent shows that, backwood, mountain shows in the Carolinas. And just, it was one of those things where I was just, it was the love of my life, at that time. And I just chased after it. I knew I had to give everything. I had to sacrifice a lot of things. I knew that I was not going to make any money, doing it. It was one of those things like a kid who plays whatever football growing up. They don't make money doing it. They do it because they love it. And it's something that, just they want to do for a living. So for me, pro wrestling was it. I sacrificed a lot of family time. I sacrificed a lot of, I spent a lot of my own money, drive back and forth from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, which is where I was stationed at in the Marine Corps for 4 years. It was probably a good 5-hour drive to where I would meet my trainer, to drive another 10, 12 hours to a show. I'd get back in my truck and drive, get back to base on Sunday night at 2, 3 in the morning, and have to be up to go run, or in the Marine Corps formation at 6 a.m. So, dude, it was a sacrifice of a lot of things, but to see where it's come from and how it's paid off for me, I always say what helped me the most was I was in this small town, graduated high school. I'm wrestling in these small little areas, but the biggest advice I always got was you have to branch out. You have to get your name out there. You have to, you have to make the right connections, I guess. And I knew that I had to get out of my hometown because I'm wrestling in an armory in Hickory, North Carolina. Even though we would get insane crowds, 500-600 people packed in there. You couldn't make it anywhere there. Right. So I knew I had to sacrifice things and just kind of meet the right people. And that's what I did. I decided to move out of my hometown and move to, Georgia, and started working with NWA Anarchy. I don't know if you've heard of those guys down there. It used to be Wild Side. I mean, dude, the superstars that came out of that building were everybody. AJ Styles. I mean, the list goes on. So that's what happened. I got down there. I met the right people. I started doing NWA TV, getting my name known, ran with the NWA national title, and it just branched out from there. I met Terry Taylor, who helped me get my foot in the door with TNA. I'm maybe bouncing a little further ahead here for you, but that's just kind of, in a nutshell, really what it was I knew I had to get out of my hometown. I always say the Marine Corps helped me because it did allow me to get out of my hometown free, going to boot camp and then getting transferred overseas and stuff like that. But it allowed me to see the world. It instilled in me also that, man, I can do anything I want to do. It's going to take hard work and determination, but there's no, whether it's a pro wrestler or a doctor or whatever, or a Marine, you got to work hard at what you do. And I always sacrificed a lot for, professional wrestling.
How kind of was that? You're obviously serving in the Marine Corps, that you said, but then also wrestling on the weekends. And I mean,
Yeah.
wrestling schedule's already kind of a physical, it's a physical night, like no matter what, even on an easy day. And then
Right.
you're always doing physical stuff. So did that really just kind of cement, was it really just work ethic, or did it ever catch up to you, kind of the stress you're putting your body under? Or
It did not. Like I traveled with a buddy, a good friend of mine, Anthony Barfield, and we wrestled as a tag team for a short period of time in 2006 when we got out of the Marine Corps. He wrestled as Truett Fields at Anarchy with me. And it helped because he loved it, man. And we traveled together on the weekends. I had some good, bosses in the Marine Corps who allowed me to, go off and do my thing. They didn't really give me a problem. I've always been addicted to working out anyway, like weight training, wrestling's very strenuous on your body, obviously. And then the drives were even more. But I guess when I'm in my 20s, it didn't bother me. I was, a young 20-year-old kid or whatever, 25, just going. Now that I'm 38, I'll be 39 in a month or month and a half. I go, man, I wish I would have slowed down a little bit. But, I am where I am because I didn't slow down and I did sacrifice. But yeah, it took a toll on my body because you had, traveling to wrestling 2 or 3 shows a weekend, sometimes twice on Saturday, and then driving back to base and still working out and getting up. And, I worked on trucks in the Marine Corps. So I'm lifting, armor plates and just all this other stuff, man. And it took a toll on me. It does now, but take care of my body a little better now. But yeah, it was definitely, I look back and like, good gracious, what was I doing, man? I didn't take any time to breathe and rest.
did the kind of disciplinary style of the Marine Corps really help you in terms of like locker room and stuff, in terms of having not just like a big ego or anything as well? Because
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I've heard some stories that the people that have done military service, when they come in and do become wrestlers and such, that it really helps have the disciplinary approach and makes you it seems like a lot more guys like them. They're just more laid back, I guess.
And I think it is the discipline thing because I was raised. My father was he disciplined me well. He taught me respect. He taught me to be humble. So did my mom. But going in the Marine Corps and just a whole new lifestyle. You're living it. I lived it for 4 years. It did teach me a lot more discipline, not only like how I treat others, but how I approach work, or even how I approach failure. So, I mean, there's been many times in my career where I have failed at something, whether it be, man, that match sucked on live TV, or, whatever it is, just however you handle a stressful situation. But I think it did really help me with handling stress, because obviously in the Marine Corps, whole different stress level when you're overseas in Iraq and part of war and, worrying about that stuff. So you come back and you go, okay, this is not stressful at all. It's helped me with that. It's the work ethic as far as just, there's small things in the Marine Corps I did that I set my mind out to do. One of them was being an honor graduate in boot camp, which is 13 weeks at Parris Island, which is, the hardest thing I went through, still to this day, one of the hardest things I've done. And I became an honor graduate after 13 weeks. I wanted to pick up rank. I picked up rank. There's just a lot of things I wanted to do in the Marine Corps, and I knew that hard work was going to get there. So the same for pro wrestling. Wrestling is a cutthroat industry. I mean, dude, it is who you know sometimes, but it's also like how you work, how you carry yourself. And if you can take the grind, because I mean, I've been doing it 20 years. There's some some people who get in the business and 2 years later they're done because they're like, man, travel hurts, taking bumps hurts, and then the stress level on top of that. So when you're a part of, WWE or any other wrestling promotion, the TV stress, because you have a certain time that you're sticking to and things change on the fly, and you just gotta, with the Marine Corps, it helped me to kind of adapt and overcome with things like that. And then when something happens, you take that stress and you just use it to make the job better.
Yeah, it seems to be one of the best possible approaches to have. In terms of success, just adapt and overcome.
Yeah, it is, man.
The best way to overcome an obstacle.
Right.
Seemed. You mentioned earlier that you had gotten some assistance when you got into TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. What was that like? Finally, I guess a big deal company finally hitting your line, wanting you and thinking that you can help. So how much is that reassurance and like gratitude, I guess, do you have for that?
Terry Taylor got, helped me get my foot in the door. I owe a lot to Terry. And matter of fact, WrestleMania morning, I text Terry and told him, hey, you've been with me for a long time. You've helped me so much, and just kind of thanked him. But he got my foot in the door with TNA. And then from there, it was really on me. I mean, I drove down for a year and a half, me and a couple other guys. They paid us. They paid for our room at that time, but it was one of those paying dues. I drove down to do a security role where I stood beside Dixie Carter or wherever, man. It was just one of those, like, I want an opportunity. I will do whatever it takes. And lo and behold, 2010, I guess I signed the first contract with him, and got stuck with Immortal, Hogan, and those guys, and kind of built a relationship with those guys. And it was just, I knew that it was my opportunity. And, given the opportunity, I would continue to shine. And I'm very, very thankful for my Impact or TNA run. I got a chance to work with some of the greats. I mean, AJ at the time down there, Bobby Roode, James Storm feud that I still love to talk about. I got to work with Magnus, in England, and main event in Manchester. Ken Anderson, I mean, Sting, a guy I grew up wanting to, be like. And, dude, it's just, there's so many opportunities that landed on my plate there that I know I capitalized on. And just to see, where I've come from and the guys I got to work with and learn from was just a great opportunity. And I think it helped build me for where I am now, because WWE was my ultimate goal from day one. Right. And I think a lot of the guys knew that. Like, yeah, I love TNA, enjoyed it, but WWE has always been the ultimate goal for me. And it did set me up, I think, for success, because I built a name in TNA. And then when I got released there in 2015, I always kept in touch with Edge, who was another guy I always say, I shook his hand and hugged him at WrestleMania and thanked him as well, because he vouched for me with William Regal. And I kept touch with William Regal for a few years. And lo and behold, I got my foot in the door at NXT. And, like I said, that name building there at TNA helped me a lot. So I owe a lot to the opportunities that were given to me there.
That's actually TNA is actually the first introduction I had toward for you, because I used to watch that when I was younger, and I still remember your debut, and it was really weird because so I was one of those kids. I've told the story before, but when I was in third grade, everyone loved wrestling, and that was my first introduction. So I was always the type of person, like, if I'm behind on something, I gotta go, and like I'm interested in it, I go find out as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I was checking out like library books about the history of wrestling and stuff. So I was reading about like NWA and like Jim Crockett promotions and stuff while they're like talking about John Cena and Edge and under Batista and stuff. So I had always just like had a big like mind, I guess, for the history of stuff. So I watched as much as possible. So I was to bring it back, when I was watching you, it's really interesting because it was like you had a cool look, and I liked your tattoos, and like you stood out. But then it was kind of like a stop start. Like they would put you in a feud, and then it would go, and then they would yank everyone back, and then they would put you out again, and then yank it back. Like how
all the time.
How kind of odd is that, and like how hard is it as a performer to try and build like a consistency, or when it's just kind of a little, I don't want to want to be mean, but like a little messy in terms
No,
of
it was, yeah.
yeah.
Sam Shaw and I still talk about that because he and I were rocking with this feud in like December of 2014, maybe near the end of it. We had a big match on TV in Pittsburgh or somewhere. And then all of a sudden in January, we get to the UK and we're told, yeah, we're going to take you guys to the UK and let you feud there. We get to the UK and literally like I go from January of 2014 main event in Manchester to January 2015 and we didn't do hardly anything. It was a back and forth thing. And I don't, I won't sit here and point fingers. I don't care to do so. It was weird because, I mean, yeah, you talk about that. And I went from feuding with James Storm where it was kind of a rocket ship for me, and it could have very well gone somewhere. I don't know. I can sit here and say I know that I did nothing wrong because I've always give 110%. I don't know if somebody just, TNA got to the point to where they started bringing in a lot of like overflow talent, and which was good. We had Matt Hardy coming in, which is a great guy to learn from. But they started, to me, TNA took away from where they started in early 2000s of building fresh names like Frankie Kazarian and AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and these guys who came in,
Daniels.
dude, the list forever goes on. I mean, these names that were fresh to people that these fans watched TNA for that reason because it was something fresh, something new. And I think that's where it got away from. But I'm, I got, when I got released in 2015, I was kind of bitter about it. I was in a different place in life, obviously. But I am now look back and you know what? I'm very thankful for those opportunities. But it was so frustrating at times, so frustrating. Because I have like buddies that still go, why didn't they do this? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I don't, make up this stuff going on. But so yeah, it was back and forth for sure.
It's the TNA stories are like funny to me, and you talked about the overflow talent too. I think that's a dangerous trap that a lot of other wrestling companies fall into, in terms of it's like, oh well, if we bring in this name and it adds legitimacy, this name adds legitimacy, but eventually if you start bringing in too much, then you just have everybody, and if you don't have a clear game plan or creative plans for everybody, then you just have all that talent like with nothing to show for it type of deal.
Yeah, no doubt.
The TNA stories are just funny to me because it's like fans and all their inside info of the industry like to point fingers at specific people backstage at the time.
Yeah.
And then those people will do interviews like, I wasn't in charge, like I had no idea what was going on.
It's like, who was?
It's like, no, it's really funny just to listen and talk about that stuff. And it's so odd because everyone was so talented, but at the same time, like you and I believe James Storm won the tag titles, and then you were off TV for like a month and a half, and
come back and lost them.
Yeah, exactly. It was just the most trivial things, but the wrestling's good. But it's just one of those. It's tough to run a wrestling company, I guess. It turns out.
It's gotta be, man.
But yeah. So how you mentioned some of the names and stuff and how much helped your career. You said James Storm, Matt Hardy, Sting, and all that. You penned Sting like in a tag team match too. So how is it while you were there? Did you kind of take a moment to reflect on again just how much you progressed? Like, oh, I'm working with these people that I used to grow up watching. Like you were an Immortal, so you're around Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, Ric Flair. And AJ Styles and Fortune were all involved too, Kazarian and everything. So what is it? So how awesome is it to reflect on how far you come, and how awesome is it to just be able to work with such an incredible talent?
Oh no, it's great. I mean, I remember the first time standing in the ring with Hogan, and he was doing promos, and as a kid, I'm like, dude, I'm standing here with Hulk, dude. Like these guys grew up wanting to be, and the one who got me into pro wrestling. And then I always tell the story of Sting because I was standing in the ring. I guess I was teaming with Ken Anderson, maybe. I can't remember who. I think so.
I believe so.
Yeah. And Sting's music hit, and he starts coming down the ring, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. And the lights were kind of obviously off the ring, but on Sting, so I could actually kind of fanboy out in a way, And dude, even now it's one of my cooler memories is getting a chance to work with those. And I got a chance to work with a lot of the TNA originals, man. So for me, it was awesome. Really, I mean, there's moments where there's a 6-month period probably where James and I worked with Kaz and Daniels, and those guys are incredible, and just always wanting to work hard or have fun, and just depending on what town we were in. So yeah, getting a chance to even go up to Hogan at WrestleMania 37 here in Tampa and just walk up to him, and he sees me and he remembers me, you know what I mean? And he just starts talking to me. So I was like, that's awesome, because, he remembered who I was. We shook hands and hugged, and it's just like, he just kind of congratulated me and all this other stuff. So TNA gave me a lot of cool moments, man, a lot of cool opportunities to work with those guys. I worked with Scott Steiner, who I, remember watching as a kid too. And, we had some tag matches with each other, against each other. And dude, Bobby Lashley, him and I worked a lot at TNA, and some house show loops and stuff. So just to sit, sometimes I have to remember who I worked, and like, you got good days, you got bad days. Every job you're going to wake up or something's going to make you mad. But there's moments where I'll sit in the locker room and I'll go, and I'm like, I'm happy. I'm blessed. I'm living my dream. I've worked jobs that I hated, absolutely hated. When I left TNA in 2015, I had to work for a cable company because just got married, just had a daughter. And, I worked indie shows every weekend too. So I'm doing that. I'm acting. I'm working at a Spectrum cable company. So I go from being a wrestler on TV to a cable guy in somebody's house. And it's very humbling. You know what I mean? We talked about that earlier, but it makes me appreciate where I am now. And if it ends tomorrow or it ends 10 years from now, I can sit back and go, I had a really sweet career, and I got to do something that huge percentage of people either one, don't get a chance to do, or don't, they don't want to try it because they're afraid of failure. So, with that being said, I know that was long-winded, but that's kind of where I'm from. Yeah.
No, and you talk about being a cutthroat industry. Like, that's it right there. Yeah. I mean, you're TV champ, tag team champ, and then everything can go away like that.
And you're a cable guy.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I'm in a guy's house one time doing cable, and he's just looking at me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he goes, man, you look familiar. And I go, yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I got a twin somewhere. He goes, you're Gunner off of TNA, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I am. Now I'm doing your cable, but I'm here. But it was humbling, man. It was very humbling. And that's something that I think that, I'm a Christian. I think that God put me through that for, to humble me, because there was times in my life, in my, TNA stint, where I was, doing my own thing and not humble at all. There's moments where I started to get a big head and big ego. And that was like a humbling moment for me. And it's definitely helped me now, not only being in WWE, but being a father and a husband. So.
Yeah, that's kind of a philosophy that I strongly believe in too. It's just always perpetual state of improvement and learning. You know, it's you take every experience that you can and then do the best with it that you can. And that's obviously you took some hardships, and then you're with the WWE.
Right.
So you accomplished your dream. It's very impressive, and
thank you.
very, very awesome. Before jumping to WWE entirely, I had another question about TNA. Not to rag on them or anything, but how was it always dealing with kind of like the different gimmicks and stuff they would always seem to do? Like, it was a feast or fired, or the Bound for Glory tournament I actually liked because they did different point systems and stuff. So like some wrestlers would start whipping out submission holds and stuff they wouldn't do. So I actually kind of like that, but the feast or fired never made sense to me. It's like, why would you willingly take the chance to get fired?
No, it was, and it's funny because that was always everybody was like, when we was getting ready to do those matches, it was like, who's getting fired? Like, you can kind of tell sometimes, like, who was getting that briefcase. Those matches were fun. I mean, there was so many gimmick matches, man. We had the what was it, the Gimmick Battle Royal or something one time?
You got to jump.
We got bit by a dead fish, and dude, there's so many things we went through that we just made it fun. I mean, there's some guys that would get bent out of shape about like the fish thing. I could have easily got mad and said no, but it was Shark Boy, dude, I was like, whatever, man. But there was a lot. I mean, I got a chance to do the cage with James Storm at Lockdown. He and I did that Feast and Fired match where the briefcase was up there, and I remember that one being fun. I think it was in Cleveland or Cincinnati or somewhere. I'm trying to think of some other one. I did a couple ladder matches, but yeah, they were always trying to be creative. I mean, you had the what was it? The X Division match, the cable, what was it called?
The X. The paper. It was always on Destination X.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, but it was.
I feel bad. I can't remember.
No, I can't remember either. But that one was innovative because you had guys like Ian Skipper back in the day, and AJ and these guys like killing each other on this thing. And I was like, dude. But I mean, so I give it to Impact. They come up with a lot of like innovative, different ideas, and they ran with it. And some of them failed, some of them did. But the Feast or Fired was always one of those. We were like, oh boy. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too. It was like, would they tell people in advance who was getting fired or not? As I assume it's like the one person whose contract negotiations are up next week probably isn't looking too hot for him. With like,
yeah, usually that was it. Yeah, usually that one was it.
That's just it's too funny to me.
Yeah, it was nuts.
But speaking of TNA trying to be different, kind of innovative, they had the 6-sided ring, but I believe you were there when they switched to the 4-sided for a bit too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you were there when they switched back, but if what were kind of some of the difference if you did wrestle in the 6-sided?
I did not like this. I wrestled in the 6-sided, and then the 4-sided came back, and a lot of us are super happy. So the 6-sided ring, the if you think of the dimensions of it, like it was not. So every side is going to be a little shorter. So the ropes were super tight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so very just uncomfortable. And then the ring was a lot stiffer. I remember it being a lot stiffer, just the way it was put together. But I mean, obviously you had like a bigger work area, I believe. But for me, I've always just the traditional 4-sided ring. It was always what I liked as a kid. And I think Hogan was like, oh, we got to go back to the 4-sided ring. Like the 6-sided thing is. And it really wasn't hard to maneuver around because you always had a set of ropes in front of you. So if you're always just going to go straight like normal, it's not like you're like, oh my God, which way do I go? But yeah, all the guys would always say, yeah, this ring's a lot. It hurt a lot more. So for me, it was always 4-sided.
I believe that the reason that they did the 6-sided ring too was it was pretty much for the X Division guys. I guess so they had more ropes and more like ways to do different cool aerial moves, but it was, I guess it kind of makes sense to shift it because they kind of waned away from focusing a lot on the X Division. I guess like I want to say like late 2000s, early 2010s. But it seems like the guys I liked the most were just the X Division guys. Like AJ Styles said he liked it because it separated the products and things like that.
Yep.
But I've heard a lot of people complain about the ropes too. So
yeah, and they were tighter. I mean, for the guys who did a lot of springboards and stuff, it was perfect. Because I mean, they were tight. So
I was watching some matches and stuff when I was researching for this, and that was something I noticed too. It was a fight or a match you had with Bobby Lashley, and both you guys are going off the ropes, and those things are hardly budging.
Don't move, man. They do not move. I couldn't imagine back in the 80s because like WWE keeps theirs super tight now because guys do springboards. But back in the 80s, you see these big guys, Andre and all of them hitting, and the ropes just look like they're going way out in the crowd. I mean, and I would talk to like Earl Hebner and Hogan and these guys, and he goes, man, the ropes were like super loose, but the rings apparently back then were just even harder than they are, they are now. So that's why everybody's got hip and back problems. But
yeah, I hear nightmares in terms of how hard the rings were.
Yeah,
like no cushions, just long like oak wood or something.
And they were going, dude, what, 7 nights a week, dude,
yeah.
like hours. And it's like, whoo, man. So
it was terrible. They would do afternoon and night shows back then too.
Sunday,
I was talking that I had that when I was talking with Nikita Koloff and Mr. Gerald Briscoe. It's just like their schedules and stuff, and like Nikita was like wrestled. It was like over 400. I can't remember. Like within a year, it was just a ridiculous number, and it's like they wouldn't let you do that anymore unless you're like independent. Like, it's just, it sounds terrifying. And he walked away with like not it seems not that many health issues compared to a lot of guys too.
Yeah,
And it's
different
just
styles, right? Sure,
mhm,
man. Yeah, those guys are
yeah,
brutal.
very very brutal. But you mentioned earlier that you had talked with Edge and kept in touch with William Regal and stuff.
Yeah.
How did you ever meet them and get in touch with them in the first place?
So yeah, man, Dash Wilder and I, or Cash Wheeler, I think is what he's
Mhm.
called now. AEW. We're really good buddies. We've known each other since '04. Technically, we've been, when I started wrestling in the Carolinas, he's from kind of the same area where I'm from. So Dash, and
Okay.
I kept in touch together. Well, we traveled a lot together. We worked a lot of shows together. He ended up getting hired with WWE when I was at TNA, and he lived in Asheville, North Carolina, which is a place that Edge chose to move to, I guess 2012, maybe 13, somewhere around that time. And, Dash met Edge in the gym and they just became friends. And that's kind of how Edge and I linked up. It's just that mutual connection. So I'd always send him tapes of my TNA stuff. And he would always, and he still does. He just loves what he does. He loves to give back. Just a true locker room leader and a true guy who respects those who came before, and then the business is coming ahead of us. So I always kept in touch with him. When I got released from TNA, I kind of reached out to him and just he got me, I think, Regal's email maybe or phone number. And I just started talking with Regal. And I think about 2 months after I got released, Regal said, all right, well, we're going to bring you down to the Performance Center for like a little intimate tryout, not one of the
Mhm.
bigger ones that they do where there's 60 or 70 people. There was only like 4 or 5 of us in this tryout for me. So I did a week-long tryout in July of 2015, right after I got released. And I apparently impressed him. I don't know if it was just the way I carried myself in the ring. I don't know. But we kept in touch, over and over for 2 years. And at the time, there was just no opportunity for me to come in, man. There was, and he was honest with me. I mean, we'd talk usually once a month. He'd keep in track, let me know what Hunter was saying or whatever. And then, so 2017 of March or April, I want to say, I got a call from from TNA to come back. And I didn't really want to. It wasn't what I wanted to do. It just, I wasn't happy with the decision or, all that stuff. So I just out of the blue, I was like, you know what? I called Dash and, he called Edge and then we talked to Regal. And about, man, I guess probably a couple hours after that, Regal called and said, hey, we want to offer you a job at WWE. So because I mentioned TNA, maybe it was a shotgun thing to help me out, because they didn't want to bring me back, but it's not really what I wanted to do. So I just kept in touch all those times. I just think showing the initiative maybe. And then, him knowing who I was, that's what got me in. And then I hired, I guess, May 29th, 2017 is when I went to the Performance Center and started my journey, But Edge has always been, cool for me as far as advice. And even until now, if I text him or whatever, he's always quick to reply. And I owe him so much, man. And I told him that at WrestleMania backstage, just gave him a hug and said, man, you never had to stick your neck out for me. And, but you did. And he said, well, I believe in you. If I didn't believe in you, I wouldn't have done that. So I found it to be pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I've really heard just a lot of positive stuff about the Edge in terms of locker room. Like when I was talking to Mr. Briscoe, he
Yeah.
said he was someone that really stood out throughout his time there as just someone who really good head on his shoulders, I guess, and was really good at providing guidance and just
a workhorse, man.
Yeah, and just a nice guy. I'll scroll through Twitter and you just see it's somebody. Oh, can I get a happy birthday?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, sure, buddy, happy birthday. Like, oh, thanks. And then another kid, oh, we're sick in the hospital, and we're a big Edge fan. It's like, oh, I got you. It's like so much, and it's just
that's what it's about. Yeah,
yeah,
man, that's what it's about. Because the fans are really ultimately what keep us going. We give them entertainment or whatnot, but when you're just you just got to be nice,
right.
And he is. There's a few other ones that are like that as well, man. And I try to do the same thing. If somebody wants a birthday wish or whatever, just shout out to them. It doesn't hurt me to type it on Twitter. It's not going to take any time out of my day or any money out of my pocket. It's what we do, man.
How kind of is it dealing with that? I know you said it's just part of what you do, but I mean, as you said, you're from TNA, then you go to work in cable installer for Spectrum, and then
Yeah.
now you're back up with WWE, and then now people are tweeting at you just because being recognized like by you would somehow make their day just because you're big fans. What's it like, just knowing that you kind of have that, I guess, power and influence just to make such an impact?
Yeah, it causes me to slow down and respect what I get to do for a living. Because as a kid, I remember, I guess I was, so Owen Hart died, what, 98?
Yeah.
I think it was in 99.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was, no, he might have died in 99. I can't remember. Anyway, we were at a fall brawl event.
Over the Edge. So
yeah, Over the Edge.
I think 99.
I think 99.
99 sounds right.
Yeah, because it was early 2000 when I was at a we always went to WCW events as a kid because there was a hotbed in the Carolinas.
Right.
So me and a buddy are at a maybe a Nitro or something, and we're standing at the gate back, where the wrestlers parked. We're the only two left, and I waited, and Bret Hart come out because I'm a huge Bret Hart fan. And he's busy getting in his car, and you tell he just doesn't want to be bugged. But I just say, hey, Mr. Hart, can I please have your autograph? And he took the time to say, yeah, sure, and he walked over to the fence, signed our, ticket stub at the time, and it always just made me think, like, man, you never know what a fan is going through. A kid, a dad, a mom, whatever, they bring their family to these wrestling events just to escape whatever they're going through in life. So just to take 30 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever it is, to say hey to a kid or hey to a mom and dad or a fan in general, you never know what kind of impact that'll make on somebody. I can go be a jerk, but what's that going to get me? You know what I mean? That's not going to get me anywhere. It's going to, make them have a bad day or have a bad taste in their mouth. And, in the end, it's part of my job, what I mean? But yeah. I enjoy it as well, because you just never know, that little kid that's 5 or 6 sees Jaxson Ryker, and Jaxson Ryker takes the time to put his bag down and go say hello, or Jaxson Ryker takes the time and says, leave me alone, dude, I'm trying to do something. Yeah. 2 different worlds there, man. You know what I mean? So you got to think about how far that carries. And it's just, that's another thing my dad raised me, just be respectful to people.
Yeah, that's just a really nice mindset to have. Like and it seems like a lot of the wrestlers that are fan favorites really take that approach. But it's just nice to see.
Yeah, most of them do. Most of us do, man. Most of us love what we do. I mean, there's times where it's 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. I'm going through an airport. It's like, man, I'm so tired, But if somebody recognizes you, says hello, it's fine. And most people aren't going to bug you. Like if I'm out with dinner with my family, they're not gonna, they're not gonna be crazy. So you don't really experience that anymore. Yeah. So that's always nice.
Like my dad, he grew up in the Fort area too, and just like randomly, I guess it was like in the 80s or 70s, Hulk Hogan's at a restaurant. He sees him and he's eating. He says, "Oh, how you doing, Terry?" He's like, "Hey, brother." But yeah. So he sits down to eat his meal, and then all of a sudden another guy with his kids like, "Oh, Billy, of course he'll take a picture and sign for you," and like just basically puts him on his lap. Yeah. And it's just like, and I read the Hardy Boys books and Rey Mysterio's like autobiographies when I was a kid, and like both of them they both just like praises, like, if I'm eating, just don't come up to me. They basically taught you how to talk to people. Yeah. I'm taking notes, and like I see Batista in a Whole Foods when I'm a kid, and I go, "Oh, after you're done, sir, do you mind signing?" Yeah. And it's funny. Just like it's just really good. I think the world's just best when people are just nice and positive to each other. Try not to be disrespectful and things like that.
Absolutely.
But talking with WWE and you finally getting that opportunity in NXT, so what did you kind of do to prepare for that? I guess they just gave you the call and you went to the Performance Center in Orlando, or what would you kind of do?
We just uprooted my family. My wife and daughter. We moved. I was filming a movie at the time, Game Night, which came out in 2017. So when all that was going down, I was driving to Atlanta for the movie, and then in between set, I would have 2 or 3 days off. I was driving down to Orlando to try and find a house to live in for my wife and my daughter and I, driving back to Atlanta to finish filming this movie, driving back to the Carolinas, dude, it was like, oh my man. So I had about a 3-week period where I was filming that movie where I had to find a place to live because like I was reporting to the Performance Center on May 29th. I remember, May 27th was the last day of filming for the movie. Luckily, I had family in the Carolinas who helped my wife and my mom and dad pack our house up. I did none of that and got there on the 27th. We got in the U-Haul on the 28th, which is our wedding anniversary, and drove to Orlando. And then I reported on the 29th. So it was all like, dude, it was just crunched up in time, but it sounds like my life. I mean, that's how things are, it's always been. So yeah, I reported down there, man. Started training. It was just one of those kind of restart moments. I wasn't Gunner anymore. I wasn't, Phil Shatter from the Indies. I was just Chad at the time. I was literally wrestling as my real name, Chad Lell, for, man, I guess, dude, almost a year. So for me, mentally, that was weird because I went from Gunner, which really wasn't, I'm not going to say not a character, but it was kind of my character. I was this intensified version of Chad Lell who played the Marine Corps stuff and all that. I went from just being my real name. So when I'd go out of the curtain and they'd be like, NXT superstar Chad Lell, it's just like, there's no character. Like, it's just me, you know what I mean?
Doesn't have the same oomph as Gunner.
It doesn't, so it was very weird for me, but it was just, I was trying to learn myself, learn the WWE style, learn what they wanted. We had amazing coaches I got to work with. Terry Taylor, I've named 100 times, Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, Scott Garland, or, Scotty Too Hottie, dude, Matt Bloom. I mean, all the coaches down there, Norman Smiley, who I love to death. And, just these guys that were just teaching what they wanted, you know what I mean? What the TV product was. And then we kind of, me and Blake and Cutler and I, we always hung out. We're always friends, rode to shows together. And they had been tag teaming a little bit. And I think, I want to say Steve Carino mentioned to Blake and Cutler, guys, probably, we may try and add, Chad with you guys. And at that time we were starting off the name Jaxson Ryker, which I got to pitch and come up with, which is really cool and very rare. And so lo and behold, we just started doing some like trio stuff, like 6-man tags on Florida shows, just playing around here and there. And it flourished into the Forgotten Sons. Like we got to come up with that name. We got to kind of come up with our gear and just run with this Forgotten Sons gimmick. And just dude, that's how it was. Everything was just going quick. And then obviously with NXT, it blew up. It blew up fast. Yeah. And then we got a live TV spot, and we're like, oh man, we're live TV now. We're not just a network show. So dude, yeah, like I said, it was pretty quick for me. Because some guys sat at NXT or sat in the Performance Center for 5 whatever years, and they didn't really do anything. They didn't get any network time. So for me, I consider myself, I'm blessed and lucky, but work ethic once again. I was, just right time, right place, man.
You're talking about, you just said at the end, people that sit there for a while, and you said that you'd been there for a year. How do you is there a lot of mental pressure with that? Like, do they kind of communicate where they view your position in the company, or are you just trying to train and trying to get the WWE mindset as quick as possible so you're ready to go whenever they need you, type of thing?
Yeah, it really is ready to go when they need you, kind of thing. It was frustrating at times because it's like, all right, man, I was TNA wrestling on TV, and now I'm, just all I'm doing is wrestling some Florida shows. But it was definitely another humbling experience, and you just never know with it, man. You're down there pitching ideas or pitching character ideas and messing with promos and doing promo classes and stuff like that. But you just keep in touch, man. You just open up that communication line with the writers, because Joe Bel Castro was one of the main writers. He was always in NXT with us, and just trying to just learn. Okay, what do they want me to do? What can I do to be better? And that's really what it was about. Just putting in the work. With Performance Center, we had an unlimited source of opportunities. We had all the ring time we wanted. And, I mean, I am getting older, I should say. So I had to be careful with me going and bumping every day because you just got to take care of your body. And WWE is big about that. Like, hey, don't kill yourself. Take care of your body. But I mean, we had promo rooms, we had promo classes, we had gym, we had all this stuff. So we had, all kinds of resources that, that's amazing to sit back and look at now, like what the company is, trying to do for these guys and girls.
Yeah, it's really just crazy and really kind of unprecedented. I guess in like in America, the closest thing they had with WCW had the power plant.
Yeah.
But I was talking to some Lodi who he'd done the power plant as well, and that was just more. He said that was kind of like a boot camp. So this is really just unprecedented. Like the performance center. So how kind of is that? You talked about somewhat fairly humble beginnings with like doing a NWA Anarchy and the All Star Wrestling All Stars and the other promotions. Like then you just get signed with WWE and you get put in this like high class like venue with all these different commodities and all these different tools at your disposal. Like, is it kind of overwhelming, or is it just gratitude and excitement, really?
Yeah, not for me. It wasn't overwhelming. I think because I was a little older. I wasn't coming in, for somebody I think that is coming into the wrestling industry who is coming from football or coming from college, who doesn't know anything about wrestling. It could probably be overwhelming. But here I am. I mean, dude, I started wrestling at 19. I traveled all over the U.S. Got a chance to go overseas with NWA. I was in the Marine Corps, in war. And so for me, not going to say that there was a walk in the park to just walk in there. I walked in there, respected where I was and who built, this industry that we get a chance to do. But for me, it wasn't really overwhelming. It was okay. Here's another day at work. Here's another day to prove myself. What do I need to do to make it to Raw, to make it to SmackDown? Because that's where I wanted to be. NXT is a whole new brand now, a whole new entity, a Tuesday night show that we have, and these guys are killing it. But for me, I wanted to be on Raw or SmackDown, and that's where I look at now, and I'm like, because I grew up watching Raw and SmackDown, you know what I mean? And I knew that that's ultimately where my style fit, and that's where I really wanted to be. So no, it wasn't overwhelming. I mean, there was frustrating moments of golly, man, like, I'm not getting any younger. Something's got to give because I can't do this forever, But like I said, it's paid off well, and they gave me a lot of opportunities at the Performance Center. Learned from a lot of different coaches and a lot of different people.
Yeah, and you listed the names of coaches and stuff. That's another thing too. I think the Performance Center is really great about is that it's starting to show a lot of guys and girls that there is something that they could do with all these skills after they're done in the ring. Because I was talking with Mr. Koloff, and he was saying he would have conversations with guys, and they would just talk about how they'd never retire because they couldn't do anything else.
Yeah,
and like his whole point is like, well, how do you know? Like, it's not like useless. You can do things. So I thought that's really neat too. That it's opening up and showing that there's different paths you can take.
Oh yeah, and WWE is big about that now. Real quick, I won't be too long in this, but they're big about, especially the Performance Center, when things get back to a little bit normal. Post-COVID times, we would do. I mean, once a month, there would always be some kind of business meeting where, this company would come in and talk to us about, okay, well, what is your future plans? Whether it's wrestling, whether it's business, opening up your own business, whatever. So WWE is big in investing on, if I want to go to school to better myself in education, they'll help with tuition. So it's not just go beat your body up and then in 10 years we're going to fire you and you're broke and crippled. No, they don't want that anymore, man. I mean, they care about your well-being, they care about your future, care about your family. And that's respectful for me.
I didn't know about that, the tuition. That's it's really interesting. It's really nice to see how the industry's shifted too. Well, I was gonna kind of ask that later, but since we're on it, like, what has been your experience in terms of like shifts in the industry, especially like with medical treatment and even the tech, well, especially we'll focus on medical treatment for now, but especially in that regard and the healthcare and of wrestlers and stuff too, because there's been it's a scary job,
Sure, WWE cares too. We always have doctors around. We always have trainers. We got some of the top of the line trainers as far as before our matches or whatever. If you need something taped, if you need stretching done, just therapy done, dude, it's incredible. I mean, we're literally, they're there for us to use, and that's awesome because our bodies need it. The older I've got, the more I've realized, okay, I got to be stretched out or whatever it is, iced up. And in TNA, we didn't really have all that. And obviously in the independents, we didn't have all that. If you got your head split wide open, it's, well, okay, let's glue this thing shut and go to the hospital and pay for it on my own,
Yeah.
But with WWE, you get hurt in their ring, you're taken care of. The Performance Center was big about that. We had trainers there. We had massage therapists. And that's great because they're hiring a lot of these young men and young women. They're investing money into these kids and these adults. But they're also realizing, okay, we're investing so much money, we need to be sure they're being taken care of as well. And it's just a whole different industry now. So we're athletes, we're entertainers, we're athletes, and they view us as such. I mean, the NFL does that. Any big league sports has their trainers and their doctors. And, especially concussions now, you get a concussion, you're done. There's a protocol, which I love because I don't want to be 70 years old and brain dead. You know what I mean? So it's just a safer business now. Obviously, the performers are, insane. Ricochet, these guys that can just do what they do with their bodies amazes me what the human body can do. But we're also, we're taking care of. So
yeah, it's just really, really great to see because you hear all those horror stories, like you said, people are almost brain dead now.
Right.
Like you hear about Sabu like taping his bicep back together after tearing it on barbed wire.
Yeah.
And like it's like Terry Funk, like at age God knows what, doing some moonsaults off the top of ladders. It's like you definitely like fractured a rib or something there.
Oh yeah,
Like,
man.
and it's really great to see that people are starting to get taken care of, and because it's just it was really bad there for a long while.
Sure,
And
sure.
it's really impressive and good at WWE and to step up, and they're setting the precedent for the other industries now too. So it's good that I think it appears that other places are starting to catch up as
Right.
well.
I agree. Yeah, man. Smart.
Um, so you were talking a little bit earlier about NXT and how much freedom you had, and you were allowed to choose your own names and kind of your own gear and things like that. Is that a freedom that you don't have as much on the main roster in terms because it's just so heavily produced and there's just so many eyes and hands on it?
No, with gear and stuff like that, they're real chill about for the most
Mhm.
part. Move wise, they're really cool. They're creatively, you can kind of go the direction that that you want your character to go. I mean, there's things that they're going to say, all right, well, let's do this or do that or try this or try that, which is understandable. I mean, it's a whole different brand. We got a live 3-hour TV show that's been going on since 1995, I guess, is 1993 when Raw started.
Yep.
So I mean, that's Vince's baby. You know what I mean? So so there's certain things creatively, yeah, they're gonna be like, we're not gonna do that. But I don't mind. For me, it's I have the creative, like, I guess, liberty to kind of do as far as my ring work. That's where we a lot of the guys are like, all right, just let me work. You know what I mean? And for the most part, the ring work, we get to kind of come up with our own, we get to paint our own picture per se inside that ring. Depending on where we're going as a feud or whatever, you just kind of get to do your own thing.
And you're talking about creative freedom and like doing your own thing. You're working a lot with Elias, and
Yeah.
What's that like? Because he's so great, charismatic, and I think you two are a really good pair. Because you're obviously like you were in TNA, the
Right.
intense. When you want to, you can do the crazy eyes too,
Yeah.
and you're all tatted up, and so I think it's really great. He kind of needed an enforcer type, but how's it just kind of getting to work with him and all these different people every week, just going out and having fun and things
Dude,
like
he's been
that.
great. He's awesome, man. He's just he's a good person. First of all, he's worked hard. He's, he came from the indies and stuff like that. We have a lot in common. Our beliefs are just, our work ethic, whether it be dieting or whether it be faith or whatnot, we always talk about. But yeah, I like
Beard.
our diet. Yeah, beard. Yeah, I can't. I have a guitar, but like I told him, it hangs on my wall and never gets played. But I think we have a good dynamic because there are moments where he's kind of comedic and I'll play off of that a little bit. We've had some fun with some backstage stuff and just kind of my facials of us bouncing, off of each other. And I think that's something that can evolve. We don't know what the future holds if we're sticking together for a long period of time. We really don't know right now. But I do know that it's been a lot of fun, just some of the backstage promos, because they've given us creative liberty to kind of, instead of me being the Jaxson Ryker of NXT with the Forgotten Sons, who was like stone face killer all the time, there's moments where we're doing a live promo or whatever, and if I make like a goofy face or say something stupid, that's okay. This is it's a new avenue for me, and I like it because I can act. I've done a few movies and I still do auditions to this day, and I like to be able to kind of like step outside of that box and for people to go, oh man, this guy's like, he's got like a comedic side to him. It's like a dry dad joke humor. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's kind of where our stuff is, it's been fun, man. It's been a really good time.
Yeah, you guys do have a good chemistry. I was watching one of the clips. It was you were facing Jeff Hardy. It was earlier this year, and he interfered and I guess lost you the match when Jeff was going for his swanton. Yeah, you go back and forth. I told you not to help. He's gonna do the swanton. Nobody kicks out of the swanton. Like, I could have kicked out of the swanton.
Yeah, I could have.
He started
like,
it's just funny little back and forth things, and of course you can hear everything now because you're in the Thunderdome. So it's like everything just gets picked up. You're talking about your movies. I know you mentioned earlier you were in Game Night. How'd you get into the industry, and what are some other projects you've been involved in?
Yeah, man, I met a mutual friend of AJ Styles, a good buddy of mine, Judd Lorman. We met in 2014 through AJ Styles. He came to a show, and he's an actor, a good friend of mine now. He's on the SEAL Team show that's on CBS, maybe, I think. But anyway, he just kind of got me introduced to his agent in Atlanta, who I'm still with, and got me. I did like this kind of lower budget. It was like a $5 million film, Navy SEALs versus Zombies, which was on Netflix. I think it's on Amazon Prime now. It was super fun. I mean, it was the first one I did. It was like a 3-week shoot in 2015. Got a chance to work with a bunch of like retired Navy SEALs. I got to do my own stunts and all this stuff. And then, acting's crazy because I mean, I've done hundreds of auditions, but only landed like 2 or 3 roles. I mean, and that's just how it is, what I mean? But I landed Game Night in 2017. I did that audition, which was great because, Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams, just a bunch of good actors in it. And it was my first big role movie. And I got to do my own stunts there too. So, and then even to this day, I mean, I've auditioned for Marvel films. I've auditioned for the new Rock TV show that's out. Right. And a lot of them, like, acting's crazy because you'll do an audition and then they'll call and say, hey, my agent, be like, they really like you for this. So just, keep some dates open here, but then you'll never hear anything. So, I mean, it's just, that's how it is. Acting's always something I wanted to do. And if I could transition into it, years from now and do so, I would. And I just did another audition tonight for an HBO show. So, I mean, I'm constantly, like, usually 1, sometimes up to 4 a week. It's kind of like self-tape stuff that I send to my agent, and they're fun. They're fun to do. And, but yeah, I mean, it's just, so that's how acting kind of got kicked off. Just a mutual friend that got me hooked up, and he goes, hey, you look like you could be kind of the henchman role. And that's really what I've always done.
It's it's just a really tough industry to break into. It's like, and it's just kind of like when people say, like what Vince says, like, oh, I don't care who you were before. It seems like that's the way they're acting. And acting is like Chris Jericho's tried to break in, like Batista, it took him a while to break in before he finally broke out. They gave Hulk Hogan movie roles, and like those then were great. It took The Rock a long time to find his break too. It's just it's a hard industry, and
It
and
is.
but all it takes is persistence, just like I guess with anything really. Of
Right.
course, I'm not an actor, so what
But
do I
still,
know?
yeah, but yeah, no, it's true though. You do. I mean, it's you can't get frustrated because like I said, I've done hundreds of auditions, and you'll hear things sometime, and then other ones you're like, man, I really did good on that. You'll never hear a thing. But the good thing about with my auditions, I always get the same casting directors or casting agents or whatnot. So
Oh, okay.
when you get the repetitive, the same people, you know that okay, they like me. It's just a matter of okay, what role am I going to land then? So I mean, that's the good thing because if you suck, they're not going to send you anymore. So that's
Yeah.
the good thing. I always get the same people for the most part.
Well, it's good, and it's that you try to break in. It doesn't hurt.
No,
It doesn't
no,
hurt to be versatile at all.
nope,
It's
absolutely.
treat yourself like a business. It's what
Yeah,
a lot of guys, it seems, are starting to do a better job of, in because wrestling is pretty much marketing like
yeah.
this. It seems.
Market
Um,
yourself.
yeah. So just kind of thinking through your whole career, how have you kept a positive mindset? While going on the road, it's a lot of travel.
Right.
It takes its toll. I imagine it can be kind of easy to lose sight of just your kind of joy and passion. So how do you
Mhm.
keep a positive mindset, avoid burnout and things like that?
Yeah, for me now it's a little different because I'm a father. I got a 4-year-old daughter, and I think okay, I'm working for her future. I'm working for my wife's future. Back in my 20s, I just there was a different, I guess. I was chasing that dream, so for me, it was just constantly going, going, going. I had no other fallback plan or anything. So now for me, just surrounding myself with the like-minded people now. I mentioned before I'm a Christian, so I try to surround myself with this positive people, dude, and not just want to be around people who work hard, like work hard and want to achieve things, and who just stay out of trouble, which is good now. Most, it's not a trouble business anymore. Most guys are just playing video games and working out. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a more level-headed industry. But dude, I just, what keeps me going now is my family, and knowing that, yes, I've achieved like WrestleMania, but I still have other goals. I still want to do Royal Rumble. I still want to wrestle at WrestleMania, and just looking ahead and going, okay, well, what do I need to do that? What do I need to do at 30, almost 39 years old to keep my body healthy, to stay sane? I don't tend to get too stressed out anymore like I did in my, early 30s, where like everything bothered me. Now I'm just like, I heard Roman Reigns, I believe, said it one time in an interview, like, if you go out and you have a bad performance, don't carry it to the next day. Like, okay, you had a bad performance, start over. And that's the thing. And I was like, that's good advice, man. Because sometimes, I'll go out and something to go wrong, like whether it be I think it went wrong or whether it was terrible. And you can let that destroy you and carry it on to the next day of work, or you can go, all right, well, hey, man, let's just learn from it. And 2 weeks from now, we're going to forget about it anyway. I mean, that's just how wrestling runs now. It's not, it's day to day. So, I mean, for me, it's just staying humble. We talked about that. And knowing, 15, 20 years from now, I can sit on my porch and go, man, I had a really cool career, really cool career, a lot of cool opportunities, a lot of cool moments. So
I've asked that question to a few people, and a lot of people say that uh, their perspective completely shifted after having kids or having
oh
a
yeah.
child, and that's really what a lot of them turn to. Like Mr. Briscoe said that, Mr. Koloff as well. They said it's just really just kind of the development. He's like, well, Joe Briscoe said, well, I was playing wrestler. His wife did a phenomenal job taking care of it, like
Yeah.
raising everybody.
Right.
So
And it's
it's just,
different times for
yeah.
us now. Cause I mean, those guys, dude, like you mentioned, they were on the road over 300 days a year. For us, WWE now, I mean, with COVID and everything, I mean, I'm on the road 2 days a week. So the other 5 days a week, I'm with my daughter, so I look at that and I go, man, that's great. I get a chance, she's gonna know who dad is, you know what I mean? So it's a different world now. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that, and I didn't think about it until she was born. And I was like, dude, I got to work, like really work now. You know, I mean, if I wake up tomorrow and I'm done with wrestling because of whatever reason, I still have to pick back up and carry on. And I think that's where just keeping a good mindset, being positive, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I got a lot of very successful friends that, you know, I go to church with, or that I mingle with, that, you know, I watch how they became successful. And it's not because they let things get to them. It's because they overcame obstacles, you know what I mean? And it's because they continue to strive to be better. You know, that doesn't mean they strive to be rich better, but they strive to be, you know, mentally and I guess professionally better. So
perpetual improvement.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. It's like building a house. Like I told somebody, building a career, building a house, like one stone at a time. You know, it's not Legos where it takes 10 minutes to build a house. You know what I mean? It's like, it takes a lot of time to build success, and just, you know, makes you respect it more.
And you've talked about how faith and you're a Christian, and how much that really plays a role in your everyday life. Is that something that was always instilled in you? It seems a lot of professional wrestlers discover it later on in their career as well. And so was that something that you discovered later on, or was it always something that you were passionate about?
No, for me, it was, I was raised in church. I wasn't raised, you know, hey, we're going to church and, you know, you're going to go. I was raised, if dad would wake me up, go, hey, it's Sunday, you want to go to church? Sure. So, I mean, it was, you know, we went to a family church that my grandfather preached at in the 70s. So for me, it was instilled in me at an early age, something that has always been important to me. You know, I steered kind of clear away from it, you know, my 20s and early 30s, kind of tried to do my own, what I say, worldly thing, and just kind of, you know, whatnot. But then kind of grew back closer to my, you know, my relationship and stuff like that with Christ. And, you know, it's just something that's always been very important to me, like a relationship, man. It's not, for me, it's not about religion or anything like that. It's just, you know, I do a lot of like youth ministry with my church and a lot of different speakings at churches and stuff. And it's one, you know, we talked about it earlier with talking to fans and just never knowing what kind of impact you can have on them. And my faith opens up a lot of conversational doors with people, because they see this tattooed mean guy on TV or whatever. And like, oh man, I didn't know you was a Christian. So you just never know what kind of, you know, avenue that opens up as well, man. So it's always been an important part of my life, though.
Right. And it's just, I think it's just really tremendous, because I was never, and I'm not overly religious or anything, but I'm also, some of the nicest people I've met, you know, have been Christians. It's the way that I was raised, is just to let people have their beliefs, as long as they aren't using those to either squash others or project like negativity into the world. Then it's just to kind of let them have it. So I was always surrounded by a ton of different, I guess, religions and perspectives and things. But you know, some of the really nicest people I've met have just been Christians, and I think it's good to just have like positive role models, and kind of not like ambassadors, but just representation of it. Because it seems like nowadays it just always has been, there's a lot of tension around religion, different perspectives. So
Sure.
just as long as you're contributing positively to the world and helping people with it, I just think, you know, it just shouldn't matter, you know,
I agree.
whether.
Yeah.
But
For sure.
another thing with the religious thing is, the wrestling industry is kind of infamous for, even especially back in the day, to be more crude and things like that. And I know you were kind of you said there's somewhat of a distance in your 20s and 30s, but was that something that like bothered you at all in terms of like morality, like early on in the locker room? Because you know, you hear some rough and tumble stuff, so it was just, of course it's different for everybody, but
years ago it didn't, I mean, I've never been asked to do anything that would jeopardize like my beliefs or anything. So I've been very fortunate about that. You know, I've heard some stories of wrestlers that were asked to make out with a certain, you know, female on the show or something like years ago, and they would say no because they were married. You know what I mean? But I've never been put in a predicament where, where I've had to say, I can't really do that because of, my beliefs or whatnot. And even, now wrestling's totally different. It's not attitude era anymore. We're swigging beer and all this other stuff. So it's a little more laid back. It's a little more easier. And, as far as like your social media page, that you're not told, hey, don't tweet about Jesus because we don't want to, upset anybody. I mean, it's, okay, tweet, it's your faith. You tweet what you want, just be respectful of other people's beliefs as well, which is, I do, and I am for, so different industry now, different times. And I think social media has kind of opened up some different doors for that.
Yeah, it's funny when you said you mentioned a story about people not wanting to kiss someone because they're married or something. I just thought of how the Big Show, they tried to book the Big Show to kiss it's like one of the Godfather's pimps, but like I guess Big Show's wife just happened to be at that show, so they put his wife as like one of the hoes in the pimp line, so he's kissing his wife. It's just it's the ways people
Makes
like
sense.
work around it and things
Saved
like that.
Yeah, for sure, man.
You've had, like you say, 20-year career, very accomplished and respectable. Who are some guys that you personally love to travel around and hang out with, and that you develop good relationships with throughout your time, your career?
Ken Anderson was one. He's one that kind of took me under his wing when he came to TNA. I was, just starting off. I was broke. I couldn't afford rental cars or hotels, and he would just, but hey, dude, just stay with me. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about gas. Like, it's okay. He would. I still keep in touch with him, man, and just respect him. He just really stuck his neck out for me, and I guess AJ Styles was one of those. It's always been really cool and close that I could go to about anything about wrestling, about family, and all that stuff. Man, dude, I'm trying to think of some others. I mean, I'm sure there's more, but Edge, we mentioned Edge. Obviously keeping in touch with Edge and just the respect I have for those guys. The Hardys, I always keep in touch with Matt and Jeff. Their father just recently passed away, and I reached out to him, and dude, it was just we met back in 2010 or so. And, just spent a lot of time with them, and just two guys that, I've always respected a lot because, it's two guys from the Carolinas I watched growing up. Yeah, man. So those are definitely, guys that I can sit here and name off the top of my head. I'm sure there's 5 or 10 more I could probably spit out, but, Ken was one of the big ones because he just kind of took me under his wing and really helped me out when I was just a broke kid trying to make it in wrestling,
Yeah, that's great stuff. What is one thing in your career that you've left to accomplish that you're really something that you would really like to do?
I want to hold, and just the kid in me, I guess, is being some sort of champion in WWE.
Right.
And world champion, obviously, everybody's gonna say that. But even as a kid, I was a big Intercontinental title fan, a big US title fan with WCW. So those two, just to be a champion one time in WWE, just to have that under my belt. And I still want to compete in a Royal Rumble. Those are always kind of the two big pay-per-views as a kid I grew up watching that I wanted to be a part of, was Rumble and Mania. So, but yeah, definitely the championship thing.
Sure, it's only a matter of time.
I hope, dude, just keep working, man. It's like anything. We just keep working at it.
Yes, sir. Is there any place that people can reach you? I don't know if you're doing bookings or signings or anything like that. Or is there any place that people can reach you if you are? Or
well, I know with the WWE per contracts, stuff like that, we can't do any like side bookings. But if they want to check me out on social media at Jaxson Ryker WWE on Instagram. Twitter. I don't do Twitter a lot, here and there. I do have a personal Facebook page, but then, I always give my email if somebody wants to email me as far as a show or a question, but it's shatter6682@gmail.com. And I'm always down for questions about wrestling, about God, about whatever it is, man. And just, especially my, Instagram, I try and keep up on a lot.
Great. I'll be sure to link all of that in the description and make sure everything checks out.
Sounds good, Drew.
Want to be incredibly thankful for you taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hope to do it again someday. Again, wish you and your family nothing but the best. And thank you very much for coming out.
You got it, Drew. I appreciate your time as well, man.
Great. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, brother. That was fun.